Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the school system here in Uganda. I was really excited to shoot this video because it is so confusing to me. When I moved, I had no idea like the differences. I was just used to the North American school system. So today we're sitting down with Fay, a fellow content creator located here in Kampala, as well as her mom Deidre, who has been teaching in the school system for over 3 decades. So she's super knowledgeable and extremely passionate about what she does. She's going to talk to us about the different school systems, the differences between here and the UK over the last couple of decades, and also talk to us a little bit about the school that she has here as well. Alright, so now we're going to sit down and talk about schools abroad versus schools in Uganda. And I'm so excited for this segment because I feel like you're so knowledgeable. You have so much to offer to tell people that ask questions. Most of us are always talking based off hearsay or people's experiences, but not from an actual academic perspective. So if you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your history in the school systems.
Thank you, Rachel. My name's Deidre and dmukweli. I'm a teacher by profession. I was originally trained as a secondary school teacher, but then I retrained when I went to the UK to teach the younger ones, 5 to 11. And I did that for the last 30 years. I'm now retired from being employed, but I still do some homeschooling at home.
Yes, and beautiful at that. You would have seen a little bit of footage prior to of the school and the setup, and it's just, I love your passion for it as well. It's amazing. Then we also have Fay here.
Hi, I'm Fay dmukweli. Rachel has been on my channel as well, Huchenda by Fay Kakai, and yes, this is my mom, and we're here to talk about school and teaching, and hopefully I can share a little bit of my experience as well.
So Faye's schooled in both school systems, so I was like, I'd really love for you to be part of this as well.
Yes.
And explain it from a millennial point of view, especially too because we're in a phase where many of us have maybe experienced both or one or the other and are having children and are considering like so many questions we don't have answers to. So if you could talk to us a little bit about the school system before, like, and maybe like the 30 years when you first started teaching, how it was versus where it's at now.
When I first started teaching, we had the Uganda curriculum, both for the primary and the secondary, and the numbers of children was not that high.
Okay.
For example, secondary school, you had 40 children in a classroom, and primary could have been a similar number. Now we have still the Ugandan curriculum system, plus the numbers have more than tripled because of the UPE, the Universal Primary Education. So we have more children coming to school, but more or less the same buildings and the same number of teachers, so you have overcrowding, especially in the primary
so one class
section.
is how many students?
Depends.
Okay.
Depends on the area and the economic status of the parents.
Okay.
Yeah. So the lower the economic status of the parents, the more crowded the classes are going to be. Now the new introduction that I'm excited about is the introduction of more affordable international schools. Even then, there were some international schools in Uganda, but they were, you could count them on one hand, and they were damn expensive.
Yes.
Majority of Ugandans could not afford taking their children to international schools, but right now, there are more schools and they are more affordable, and that is what is exciting me.
Yeah, that's true, because I remember when we moved back, there were literally like, I think 3 international schools. You had like Kabira and ISU, and now
the ones that are still the
Rainbow.
standard ones, I guess.
But now you see a lot more. You see more like schools offering international curriculum.
Okay, like the Galaxies and
and they're more affordable.
Okay. Well, that's good to know at least. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So at the time, what were the credentials different different to become a teacher versus what they are now?
They haven't changed very much. We have grades of teachers. We have university graduate teachers.
Okay.
And previously, when I first qualified, all graduate teachers were secondary school teachers.
Okay.
And then you had grade 5 who like had a diploma in education.
Okay.
From a teaching institution like Chambogo. And then you had certificate teachers who finished O-level and went to a teacher training college and came in to teach the primary section.
Okay.
Now that has changed a little bit. Now university graduate teachers are now offering primary teaching methods as well. Some universities are offering that as well. So not all graduate teachers are secondary school teachers, which is a good thing.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that means before, once you finished O-levels, you were able to teach primary?
Yes, you went to teacher training college.
A teacher training college. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
then, okay.
You can still teach, but also you are getting in graduate teachers joining the primary
Level.
schools because graduate teachers are paid a bit better because they're more qualified.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mom, what you're saying, okay, what I got is 30 years ago, the local curriculum was better than it was because there was more attention to the students, because there were more teachers per student.
Definitely.
Yeah. But then the international scene, on the other hand, has gotten better because now there are more options and there are more affordable options.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
If you can share with us your most distinct memory of the differences with the school systems between Uganda and the UK.
I think the first thing that struck me was the setting of the classrooms. First of all, in our classrooms, in our local curriculum system, you have all the children sitting in rows.
Yes.
Facing the blackboard.
Yes.
So the teacher stands in front and teaches, and the children. Yeah. In an international setting, the children sit in groups.
Like pods. I didn't even notice the difference.
Yes.
I didn't
Just even psychologically.
Yeah.
Like you just all
So they
was
sit in
facing.
groups, and not all work is individual. Like you are hiding, you all work from your neighbor. They are actually encouraged to work together.
And
So yes, so you have a time for whole class instruction.
Yes.
Then you have time for group. Some work is in groups.
Yes.
You assign groups different tasks to do, and some work is in pairs.
Yes.
And then some work, of course, is individual. Yeah,
yes, but that's very true because in this sense, it's a reflection of being able to work with other people.
Yes,
team, with
because
one other person
they learn so many skills. Cooperating, finding out who is best at what. So if I'm fast at recording, I'll record for my group, you know. Yeah. And then they learn to negotiate using time and so on, because in real life you cooperate.
Yeah.
No engineer builds a bridge by himself.
By yourself, that's true.
They work together. So that is the first thing that struck me. And then the skills that are imparted in the international system is more about imparting skills in children.
Yes.
Problem solving.
Yes. Oh my God, I always say that.
How does that relate to real life? It's not just rote learning and memory and learning the times tables and so on, because calculators can do that for us now.
True.
So we don't need to memorize.
That's one thing I noticed in school for our report cards. A big chunk of it was just skills. It was like problem solving. They grade you on that.
Yes.
Communication. They grade you on that.
Yes.
Critical thinking.
Group activities. Was that the same? Do you feel like you could tell the difference as well?
Yes, and also to what Mom said earlier about even just the way students in the international system and local system sit in the classroom, the teacher is more accessible. So your teacher is not like this big
someone on a
source of knowledge and who you fear, and you can't even ask a question, But if you're in a small group and the teacher is coming over to that small group, your teacher is more accessible. It's more of sharing knowledge and let's learn together. Not just take what I tell you and memorize it.
And memorize it.
And teacher is not the brightest person in the room.
Right.
She's just the oldest and most experienced. So she's just a guide. The kids, especially now with the internet and everything, they know so much. They know so much.
Who knows who's in that classroom?
Yes.
You could have the next president in that classroom.
It's
you could
true.
have really, really smart people in that classroom, So
for my first teaching practice,
Yeah.
One of the girls I taught is a judge.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so obviously she was brighter than me.
Oh, she had the potential.
The potential to get
Yes. So the teacher is not the brightest person in the room.
Yeah.
She's the one guiding. She's the one showing children what to do.
Yes.
Another thing that struck me is teaching children to be responsible for their learning.
Oh, yes.
Instead of depending on the teacher. Teacher, how do you spell this? Teacher, I've finished. Like,
Yeah.
once they finish a task, they want you to tell them what to do next. Now, in an international setting, we train children to know what to do.
And take initiative.
Yeah.
Take initiative. This is your classroom. This is where where everything is. When you finish, you have choices of what you can do.
Don't be so dependent.
You're not dependent. You take learning. The responsibility to learn is upon you, and you embrace it.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to equip the children initially to know what they can do. For example, when they finish their work and so on. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I didn't even realize how it can translate from just sitting in rows versus sitting in
groups.
pods.
In small groups and so on.
And as Mom is speaking, like, I'm just thinking about like the role of the teacher, because I think in the international system, the teacher is more like cultivating, like just like creating an environment where you can learn, where you're
Yes.
encouraged to learn on your own,
Yes.
as opposed to just being imparting knowledge and that's it. So I'm just giving you knowledge and receive that knowledge and memorize it and sit the exam. Yeah.
Yes.
But like, because learning is a lifelong journey,
lifelong.
so
That is
even
true.
after you leave the
Yes,
class,
that
you
is
need
true.
to know how to learn. You need to know how to
Right.
self-study, to look for information, to sort information.
To like survive essentially,
Yes,
because even
yes.
if you, for example, you've studied abroad and going outside other places now, I'm assuming it helps with situations
Yes.
like that. You're in a new environment. You're learning to have to take initiative, learning how
Yes.
to be independent, to do these
Yeah.
things instead of relying on other people.
Yeah.
But it's wild as we speak, I'm seeing how it translates into our society a lot. It's making me
Yeah.
like understand a lot more.
So another difference is in the national system, especially when numbers are many and the
This is
teacher.
the UNEB system.
Yes, and the teacher is standing in front and just talking. Children learn through different ways.
Yes.
Listening, we retain about 30% of what we hear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what we hear and do, the retention goes up.
Okay.
You hear. No, you hear and see, sorry. You hear and see. So you're showing demonstrations, you're giving examples of what happens, the understanding goes up. Then what you hear, see, and do
as well.
it increases.
And practice it.
Yes, so you practice what you have done. And then when you share it with someone else,
You're also learning.
the
Even
retention even more. You have seen, you have heard, you have seen, you have done, and you have shared with someone. You've explained to someone how that is done. So the international system embraces a lot of that. Yeah,
okay.
a lot of that.
Are teachers able to have freedom to create curriculums a little bit differently within like the UNEP system, or they're also expected to stick to
Actually, the National Curriculum Center has been changing the curriculum to make it more practical, to make it more problem solving. The challenge are the numbers.
Oh, it's just too many.
The challenge is the numbers and the space and the resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Such an instruction of doing and hands-on it means spending more. So the curriculum has evolved over time, and they are embracing on paper, practical problem solving and all that.
Yes.
But in practice, in practice, if you have 100 children in a primary classroom, they are packed,
Too much
And then the teachers are overwhelmed.
Yes.
They have so many books to mark, and then you have so many kids, different personalities. So even like for the teacher, it's a lot.
Yeah.
They just don't have that attention.
Yeah, so it's the numbers that dictate. The numbers and the resources
Yeah.
are the
'Cause
biggest.
actually, that's the
dictates.
the biggest difference I noticed. It was just the numbers. Because I remember when we had just come back and were looking for schools, that was like one of the top things we were trying to
Yes,
find, like a
yes.
class that had a maximum of like 40 even, you know?
Which I feel like is so many.
Yes,
even
but
too,
like
it's
that's where
what
we had to start from, because you find like in a lot of like the popular schools,
Actually, the
so
school you
many.
ended up in, the head teacher promised me there would be 40 children. Before that term was over, there were 50.
Oh my
And
God. How do you have one teacher and 50
Yeah.
students?
I remember when we came back, like moving from school to school, because we're just trying to find a place that
study,
had, you
Yeah.
know, like a certain standard, especially with the numbers. So I think that's the biggest thing, it's the
Yes.
numbers. When you're so many, the teachers are stressed, they're
quality
overwhelmed,
goes down.
the quality goes down.
Yeah.
And then that's why you find it's just more about, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to like dictate notes for you
Yes.
to write. Like when
Right.
I think about now, you know, secondary, I just feel like we spend so much time writing notes. Like it just feels like such a waste of time.
Yeah, like it's like university, but by the time you go into university, you've gained those core skills, but you don't have time to get those core skills if you're
Yeah.
doing that at 14,
Yeah,
13.
like
Just
from the
notes,
beginning of the
notes,
class,
notes.
like a 2-hour class, from the beginning till the end, the teacher is just reading from a textbook and you're writing it down in your those long
Exercise
books
books,
that
yeah.
we
Oh,
used
those
to
long
have.
exercise
You know those
books, the
long
black
ones?
and white ones,
Yes, yeah. And then later on you have to go and read and memorize like those notes, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to be in the exam.
So essentially, if the teacher's just reading from the textbook, you could just read the textbook.
we could
yourself.
photocopy.
and
like-
just figure- yeah, that's true. And
Resources,
highlights, yeah.
resources. I mean, every
but
child
that's
could
the
have the
whole
textbook,
class.
but again, it's resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's resources.
Okay,
yeah.
Because my main question earlier was to ask if the teacher has the freedom to be creative and do it. Like,
Yes.
can you when you have 50 students?
Yes.
It's a
More than
lot.
50.
Yeah.
More than
It's-
50.
yeah,
It's
it's
too
not
much.
practical, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like the UNEB system or international system within Uganda could take from schools abroad, and schools abroad could take from here?
The biggest problems I identified were the numbers
Yes.
and the resources.
Yes.
So if we could have fewer children
okay.
in class, yeah.
So more. Okay.
Yes, and if the government-aided schools could have more money given to schools,
okay.
to buy the necessary things to make learning practical.
Right.
If you're learning about electricity and all you're doing is theory, it's different. This week I had my 9-year-olds learning about electricity, but we had little components for the circuits,
so you could
and the
see.
batteries and the everything, and you could see the excitement when the bulb lights.
Like, oh my God, this is
They
so
can't
wild.
forget that.
And
They
you
can-
can have future
yeah.
engineers
And you
Yes.
get to identify like
Yes.
kids like talents and like what
Yes.
they're drawn to. Otherwise, how do you know? Like, how do you know
wouldn't
what a child is
There are
good
some
at?
children who struggle with recording, but when it is a practical lesson, you see them light up. It's not that they can't learn. It's that, they are struggling with recording, but they can learn.
Yes.
So resources,
Yeah.
we get back to resources.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you think the international system
can
can learn
learn.
from the local? That's an interesting one. I think I know
Well,
one.
our
Okay.
takeaway. Yes, please do share.
I think, honestly, like even when we like talk to our cousins who are in primary school and whatnot, and then the local system, there's a certain level of like discipline that
Yes.
they have at such a
Yes.
young age.
Yeah.
Because they're required to wake up so early.
Yes.
They are required to I think, I don't know, Mom, but I think they have more work in terms of like scope of like work to do and homework and whatnot.
Yes, but sometimes it's too much for the homework does not match the age of the child.
Yeah.
But our kids are really motivated to go to school.
Yes.
Yes.
And majority of them struggle with raising the fees.
Yes.
Whereas internationally, children are forced to go to school until
Yes.
16. So
Yeah.
it's
So the
not something.
attitude
Yeah,
is
the attitude
sometimes
towards school,
different.
is different. Our kids here really love
Like,
the opportunity to learn.
They appreciate that,
They
like, I have an
appreciate, yeah.
opportunity
To
to
go to
study and this
school.
could change my
Okay.
life.
Yes.
Whereas,
Abroad, we were trying to dodge going to school anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sick.
yeah,
That's true.
I remember a story like when I was in high school, Kabojas. It was a local, but we also had international curriculum as well. And sometimes sometimes we had, like I remember like a particular student, like she had been sent from UK, like her family lived in the UK and she was like here on punishment. You know?
Oh my God, they
so
used
like
to do that so much.
school
Also, please stop doing that.
Yeah.
for
I
kids.
know, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So school was just punishment. Like she was just there to disrupt. She was just there to like.
Wow.
Yeah, she was literally there to disrupt. But yeah, she made our classes fun.
Imagine.
This kid, where's she come from? What's
Yeah,
going
like
on?
she wouldn't care. She'd always write the most hilarious things or have the most hilarious responses to the
How long
teacher.
was she there for? 1 year?
I think a year or so.
It
Yeah.
was always this punishment thing.
Yeah.
When now I live here, I'm like, that's actually warped. I don't think it's
Yeah.
for anywhere. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
It's like
to
go
me.
learn some discipline,
Yeah.
at home, and then come back.
But
Yeah.
also parents, like, anyway, that's a topic for another day. But okay. So I'm laughing because I'm thinking of all the kids they did that to. when
Oh,
I
you
grew up.
remember like when you were in Canada and kids
A
were being
bunch of
sent
kids
to
would be like,
Uganda
"Dad,
for.
they're
Yeah.
gone for the summer, they're gone for the year, then they'd come back.
Yeah.
Some were
And
no
would
change.
it help?
Sometimes it did, yeah. Because I know my cousin who came with her son here, and after attending school here for I think a year or two, he went back, and now he's really settled.
Yeah,
and
like a new
now he
perspective.
appreciates, yeah. So sometimes it does help, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So abroad, we're very used to putting an emphasis on critical thinking and problem solving, like we mentioned. If children are used to that, how can they transition to the school system here? Like, is it? I mean, the international system has more of that, as you guys were describing. But for those who, were sent abroad, from abroad to here, for whatever it may be, the transition.
Yeah, most children who are sent from abroad to here will be taken to an international school.
Yeah.
So the transition is not.
It's not as.
It's not hard.
drastic.
It's not drastic. Yeah, because the teaching methods will be similar. The numbers in class will be similar. So it's not bad. Yeah, if you uprooted him and put him in a proper UNEB, proper UPE school, like that would be traumatic. Yeah.
When you started from, like, let's say your early years, your nursery and like early primary, when you're taught those things at an early age, I think they stay with you.
foundation,
You have those foundations.
Good foundation, yeah.
So even if, let's say it's not the norm, like you know how to like research on your own, and now especially in this age, where everyone has access to computers or phones.
There's toddlers on iPads.
Exactly.
And phones.
Yeah, I think it can be different when you're used to let's say the UNEB way, and then you're plugged in into it like a completely different system. I think so. Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be interesting actually to ask some people who might have been and and see.
But I think we adapt generally.
Yeah,
You know
children
what I mean?
adapt quickly.
Especially children, especially if you're talking about the younger,
they
like
do adapt,
primary, and they adapt. Like
Yes.
you just adapt. You
That's the beauty of
learn a new
children.
way. Yeah, and even
That's very
adults,
true.
we have to be that way.
Yeah, by force. That's,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit harder when you're so like set in your ways.
ways,
whereas kids
yeah.
are just floating.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing, the town I was brought up in, there was a school that was more like it was very interesting. It was a high school that was specifically for like trades. They allowed a regular curriculum, but if you wanted to learn car mechanics, hairstyling, whatever, maybe they actually had classes that we thought it was wild. We're like, what? Like that's a thing. Whereas every other school in the city, or not that particular city, was just the usual.
Is this high school?
This was high school.
Yes.
Yeah, which was so wild. Are there schools like that?
Yes, we do have vocational schools. There's one right around the corner.
Is that high school? That's after high school.
This one was high school, like
so
from
would you,
14 to 18.
So would you, for example, if I liked hairdressing, would I do that along with like the maths?
Along with all of that, and then the way they structured that school, kind of like university in a sense, where the extra time you had for a certain period or whatever, you'd take those. You would take mechanics, you would take hairstyling, you would take
on top of the other subjects.
On top of the other ones.
Those at the end
we do
of,
have
like,
that
as
as
your
well.
final.
Yes, it's the final. So, but from 14 to 18, as opposed to like college and university. Yeah.
So we have secondary schools which offer some practical subjects. For example, Mengo Secondary School offers metalwork and carpentry. Yeah, then you have schools that do like home management and dressmaking. So schools try to offer some practical subjects at secondary school. And then we also have pure vocational schools where you just go
Okay.
and
that
learn
would be when
skills.
you're done.
That's
you-
like after
After
S4.
That's after,
S4,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, it's like you
Yeah.
go and do like a
Oh,
certificate,
okay.
like a training instead of going to
whatever.
university.
Yeah.
So like our
Instead of going to high
college-
school.
Oh, okay, like A level.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
because I didn't grow up in the A
You
level, O level, but I think
So we
that
have 4
Lambing,
years
yeah.
and then 2 years.
2 years,
So
yeah.
instead of doing the 6 years, you can do 4 years and then go and
okay. So
do
that would be
vocational
like
training.
Canada when we and US, grade 12, and when we had grade 13, but then they got rid of grade 13.
But I think
so.
the problem is like here, and maybe it's also just the way the society is set up. That's not really encouraged. That happens when maybe you have failed, or maybe your parents can't afford.
But that's so sad.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Some kids
or-
Which one? You mean going to a vocational school?
I mean, like after S4, going to a vocational school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not out of this kid is like really good with
Yeah.
metalwork or something, because most parents are thinking you're not going to be able to get a good job and get a decent salary unless you go to university. You know.
Yeah, but it's
unless you
like
do the traditional
way of
courses.
school,
Yeah.
but and it's something that's trying to be broken as well in North America. It's not just, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier. Obviously, the
Yeah.
society accepts it more. But I remember being in school and there was this girl who had a 98% average. She was a genius,
Yeah.
and she decided to go to school for baking. And I was like, I had the African mentality.
Yeah,
of, you
like-
could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer. What
Yeah.
do you do?
Do that as a hobby
As
on
a
the
hobby
side.
Yes.
But then you think about people who have big bakeries,
Yes.
multiple businesses within
That's
it. Like
true.
you can
And
be
I'm
successful
really
in
encouraged
that.
because now, especially like our generation, you see a lot of people who are maybe they did go to school and they did the degrees, but they're really pursuing their passions.
Yeah, finally. 'cause they
Doing
were
things like
miserable doing
you
other things.
content creation,
They're
or
doing
whether
their
it's a
father's degrees and
bakery,
mom's degrees.
Exactly.
or whether it's starting a salon and
Very
doing hair
true,
and
yeah.
like you
And
know like
successful.
establishing themselves in that in that field. So
Right,
I think we're breaking away from you have to be a lawyer,
Finally.
doctor, engineer, or
Finally.
I don't know.
Right? Because you
Yeah.
can be successful in other things as well. It's not just those streams.
Yeah.
We do as
Yeah.
a society. We need to.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We're getting there slowly.
Slowly.
So, I
But
mean-
still, I think the general norm is you still have to have a fallback plan.
Yes,
like
yes, of
you
course.
rarely find people taking that risk of like, okay, after S4, this is what I'm going to
What
do.
I
I'm going
do.
full into baking. You
Right.
find like even the people who have successful bakeries and what they have a degree in like something.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. That was what my mom said. She's like, just give us a degree.
Yeah.
Just finish
Just for
this
us.
one degree, and then do whatever you
you
want.
want. And I guess it does help because in that degree, there's a lot of skills that you learn
A
that
lot.
you know.
And I realized moving here, like I said, we're from a school system. You just do grades 1 to 12. There's no A level, O level. It's very a bit confusing. So if you can kind of break down what qualifies a student in, a school in Uganda to be considered private versus international, versus I guess UNEB. I think we all know what UNEB is now, but I know there's just different, qualifications.
So both in primary section and secondary section, you'll have schools that are government schools.
Okay.
And then you'll have schools that have been set up by business people or by teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Privately.
Yeah, privately, yeah.
So to be international, you have to be following the international curriculum.
Yes,
Yeah, so in
ideally.
Cambridge.
Okay.
Ideally.
But some, yeah.
The reactions are killing me. Both your faces are like,
Ideally.
So many people are setting up schools
and calling them international,
The
yes,
amount of
for the
Yeah.
name.
in our area,
Yes.
the amount of schools I
But-
drive by that say international, but
Yes.
I'm like, are you?
So
Yes.
just because it says international, that
You
it
have
doesn't
to
mean it
really
is.
check and
Check the curriculum
yes,
that
check the
they're
curriculum, see what they're using, the resources they have,
Okay.
the teachers that are
there, yeah.
instructing. Yeah, it's not just the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that means there's Cambridge, there's like, what are the different
International curriculums,
international
right?
curriculums?
Yeah.
There's some schools which follow the British national curriculum.
Okay.
Then there are those who follow the Cambridge. There are those who follow the
Cambridge isn't
American
British?
system.
Cambridge is British.
Cambridge isn't British? Cambridge.
It is British, but it's not the national curriculum.
okay,
They
okay.
have so many things in common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the national curriculum
Okay.
is different from
Okay.
from the Cambridge. Then you have those following the American system. Then you have the Christian. I've heard of the Accelerated Christian Education (SCE). I've had students come and
Is it national or international?
it's international. I think it's American.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the ones that I have.
I've heard of.
Yeah.
So then a private school that's not international, they just have their private curriculum? Is that how, their own curriculums? Is that how?
You have to follow an international curriculum.
Oh, you still have to follow
So
it.
you can be private
You
and
choose.
be national or international.
Oh,
Yes.
national or international. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So if you go to an American school here, you would still follow the grade
Yes.
1 to
Yes.
12
Yes.
situation, no
Yes.
A levels, O levels.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Gotcha. Man, I'm soaking it all in from when I have kids. I'm like, all right. It's
Yes.
very useful because I had no idea. People be like A levels, O levels. I'm like, what? I just remember them from Harry Potter.
So this is how the grading happens. You have the primary section, which is primary 1 to primary 7. After primary 7, you go to secondary schools,
S1,
which is
which is
S1 to
grade 8.
S4. Yeah, 4 years. And then you have 2 years of advanced education, which is
So
A
longer
level.
as a kid then.
Yeah.
Okay, then the American
So that is 7, 6, and then you have either 3 for university or 4 or 5, depending on the course.
And then before P1 they have what, baby class?
Yeah,
Under
we call it
5,
preschool,
preschool, under 5, yeah.
Baby class, you're
They just
so
differentiate.
It's so funny, but
to
that's
s-
what it's
yeah,
called.
they just differentiate the children, the grouping.
Right.
Yeah. So the Canadian one is what?
is grades. So your S1 is our grade 8, but you're still in primary.
Yes.
Then you go from grade 9 to 12, which is the 4 years, which would mean it stops at S4. No,
So you have 8 years of primary in Canada.
8 years of primary, yeah.
8 years and then 4 years.
of
so
high
that
So
is
school.
ours
12.
is more by a year.
Yeah, yours is more by a year. Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we used to have 13 and then they got rid of it.
Then the,
Okay.
the British system, you have 6 primary.
7 primary.
If you don't count the reception class. If
Oh,
you count
okay.
reception class, it is actually 7 reception,
Okay.
then up to year 6, then 4, and then 2 again.
In fact, it's better that way because then usually uni and the UK is 3 years. Ours is 4, so I think they wanted to scrap it to pay more in university. If you
And
really
is it-
think and do the math, yeah, okay, I get
Is the
it.
Canadian and American different?
It's the same.
It's the same.
same,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same. Yeah, that's why coming here, I'm always like, what?
Yeah.
So confused. In your opinion, how much responsibility of the child's education should fall on the parents, the teacher, and then the government? Because it's very different, I feel like, here versus
And the
versus
student
abroad.
also.
Yeah, and the student, of course, also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the biggest responsibility is the parent.
the parents.
Yeah, because you are the one going to choose which school you want for your child.
Right.
You're the one who is going to pay the fees.
Yes.
So you have to be able to afford
Right.
the choice that you make.
Because we have to pay for school here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you guys do.
Yeah.
you have to supervise homework.
Yes, and actually be engaged in it.
Be engaged in the child's learning, and so that your money is not put to waste.
Yeah.
So the
So would you
parent
say the
takes the
biggest
biggest share.
responsibility is the parent and not the teacher?
Parent first, because you're the one going to choose where your child goes. If you choose a wrong school for your child,
It'll be reflective.
yes,
in the
yeah.
future, yes.
So the second person is the teacher, because she spends a lot of time with the child. I spend from 8 o'clock to 4 with
Yeah,
the
the
children.
majority of the
So
day.
that's, yeah, I'm spending most of the time with the child.
Right.
So the teacher is next, and the child also has to be responsible for their learning.
And the government?
The government makes policies, and in the government-aided schools, the government funds.
Right, yes.
Yeah. So in that case, the government is sharing the same position as the parent, because they're doing the funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the government, in government-aided schools, the government is number one, and then the
Yeah.
parent.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Because they fund, they provide the money for the materials that are going to be used in school, for the buildings the children are going to sit in.
Yes,
They
yes.
pay the teachers' salaries.
Right.
Yeah, so they determine the quality of teachers the schools will be able to get.
Right.
So in a government system, government is number one, parent number two,
Yeah.
teacher number three. Yeah.
Okay.
I would think that for, let's say, pre-primary and primary, yes, the biggest responsibility is the parent.
Yes.
But then I think secondary onwards, it's really the student and the teacher. Like that's where that's where the learning actually happens. Yeah. And by that time, you know, the child is mature enough,
older,
so can even advise on like what they want to study, what they want to do. So
how they learn best.
Yeah.
Because not everyone wants to be taking notes.
Exactly.
I'm like such a person who learns best by doing. So I'd prefer to actually do stuff than to sit there all day long.
But if the school doesn't have the facilities,
then how do you even know?
You have no choice.
You have no choice. You just sit there in a row. And which I get. So you just mentioned compensation for teachers. Do you feel like teachers are properly compensated even in the private and international schools? Oh, okay.
Nowhere in the world except I've heard in Finland.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's true.
In Finland, teachers are very well paid. Most countries, even abroad, even when I worked in the UK, teachers were always going on strike and so on.
Even in international schools, when you're paying the price of a car.
No. The international schools pay better. They pay better because their students also pay well.
Right.
They get enough in terms of fees. So the international schools pay well. But other just private schools.
Even private schools.
Because the private schools will gauge their salary from what the government is paying because they're competing for the same teachers. So they may pay slightly higher than the government to attract the teachers, but they won't pay much more than the government, much more than the government.
Is there an average threshold on how much tuition is at a private school in Uganda, or every school just makes up a number?
Every school comes up with their fees, and that they come up with their own fees depending on what they're offering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What would be the difference in what they're offering?
Yeah. The resources.
Okay. So
in terms of the what they offer.
So
for example, maybe if, like you're going to have just like 10 students per teacher, maybe they have like
for that.
I don't know, they pay more.
Things to, like, you know, learning aids.
Resources. Okay, that makes sense. Sad, but it makes sense. Currently, there's a restructuring of the curriculum happening, or has it officially been done, or it's still in the works?
It has been done. I was reading up. The curriculum has actually been changed.
It's finished.
It has.
Did you see the changes you would have hoped to see prior happen in it, or is it we still have a long way to go?
The curriculum itself is good. Like they want it more practical. They want it.
It's just
enforcing.
Yeah, it's the enforcing bit. The implementation is what the challenge is.
So everything comes down to resources.
Yes. The National Curriculum Center, they've sat down and looked at.
Wouldn't it be nice if school was just free and good? You know, because we don't have UPE, like you said, but like free and you're not so many people in a class. Standardized.
So you choose a school according to how near it is to your home. Not children having to drive across
looking for better quality.
City. In fact, so many little children are forced into boarding schools very early because parents cannot keep driving so far away to find good schools, so they resort to taking them to boarding school when they're so little.
Do you have a 6? That's like P1.
It's just, I don't know, personally, I'm like, if I had my baby,
even pre-primary, they have boarding schools for that.
They do, because
I think should be illegal, honestly.
Four?
Because there's some parents who are like single parents, you're like a mom and you have to work.
You have no choice.
So they are tough choices, but sometimes that's the only choice that a single parent may have.
Do you feel like there's an age where you feel like, okay, a kid can go off, it's fine? Like
yes, if a kid can wash their clothes, if they can
independent.
If they're independent, if they can what did I want to say? If they can articulate, like if they are not well.
That's huge.
And know what to do, like simple first aid things. When they're a bit older.
That's why I think the pre-primary is just too young. Because like you've said, Mom, like a 4-year-old, can they like articulate themselves? Can they, like they need that extra attention. They don't need to have like one person attending to 100 of them. A lot can be missed. So, but I think the point that you made is also very, like it contributes a lot. If all the schools were standardized and good and they're near,
there would be no need.
Solve a lot of the issues. But because you just have to look for something that works for you, that you can afford, that you're comfortable with.
But even if you can, and it's still day school, and you find that
It's
school,
too
and
far.
then there is a bus or something, your child is there commuting for an hour.
Yes,
every day,
yes.
one way, then back.
Yeah.
And without traffic,
Oh. You're like,
And then
why?
they have to wake up so early.
And we don't have a
5
lot of those
a.m.
buses that pick. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
we
I
do
just
now,
think the
but
international
I don't
schools
see.
Yeah, international schools have buses that even some local
But then they're
schools
still
do have.
far. They're not-
Yeah, they're
And
And
still
then you have
far.
to pay for that service.
Of course,
like usually
it's
everything
extra.
is extra.
It's not an international school fee.
No, buses are
It's
paid
probably
separately. It's a
extra.
different.
Yeah.
It's a different provider. It's not the school. The school doesn't belong to the bus. Yeah, the
it's a
bus.
different-
Yeah. Invites bus
Yeah.
companies to come and offer the service to the
Yeah.
parent. It's not a school
Yeah.
bus.
I was really spoiled with
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
So there's always an
for
opportunity
granted.
cost that the parent has to
Yes.
consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is why many
Wow.
of them end up in boarding school.
That's quite
Because majority of people earn little in this country.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
true.
the
It's the only
reality.
option.
That's
Yeah.
the reality.
Moving to Africa, specifically Uganda, was really daunting with little to no information online about where to live, how to start a business, what to eat, where to hang out, all of that amazing stuff. So I figured I'd start a website where you can book a consultation with me and ask me whatever you like, and then also updates based on the diaspora community that we're growing here on YouTube. So definitely go and check out the website and join the community. I feel like now in 2022, and especially the last, obviously, few decades, there's been a lot of emphasis, like we were saying earlier, about more like the arts and trades and whatnot. Is there enough support for schools like that? Like,
You mean like as opposed to sciences? and
yes,
STEM
yeah. Like I
and-
know as a society we're not quite there yet, but if you were to open a school that was like that, for example, that is more emphasized around trades or whatever it may be, or even like students within school systems,
Yeah.
if they are very musically inclined, are they?
Yeah.
Do they have the like
Enough support.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a
Yeah.
no, but more so is
Yeah.
it getting there? Is it growing?
International schools offer, for example, music, so you can take it as a subject.
okay.
Yeah. For O level, you can also take PE as a subject, which is very practical. Yeah.
Oh, that's
And even the
standard.
local schools offer art and PE. but
As a
I think-
subject.
Yes, it's offered, but like your question was, is there enough support?
Yeah.
And I don't think so. Just recently, actually, I was hearing a debate on the radio where they were saying that science teachers should be paid more than arts teachers.
Yes.
So we have this, I know, right? Yeah, so it was like a whole debate, and I don't know how far
I would
it
love
went.
to hear that because I'm like, I don't understand what
I know.
I
Exactly.
don't.
So there's just this idea, and I remember like when I was in high school, which wasn't that long ago, there was there's just more like priority or like esteem around doing sciences, you know, so like doing physics or math. Because what happens in O level, so the S1 to S4 that we're explaining, you do a lot of subjects. I think we did 12. I can't remember.
In
but
one
like that's what you sit at the end of your exams. Oh no, we did. Yeah, because you had best in 6 and best in 8. Yeah,
Yes.
so you'd sit up to like 10, up to 10 subjects. So you're doing
In
the
one-
arts, you're doing the
in
sciences.
1 year, not
In 4 years. In
In
4
4
years.
years.
Oh,
And like what
okay.
I'm saying is you're
Okay,
tested on all the
Oh,
sciences,
yeah,
the
okay,
arts.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then now when you go to A level, which
You
is S5 and
specialize,
S6, you pick 3 or 4 subjects.
Okay,
Yeah,
which
so
makes sense.
Yeah, so either you hear people, I don't know if you hear people talking about like combinations, like PEM, art, or where that's physics, economics, math and art, or
okay.
PCB, or HEL, which is history, economics, literature. So they have like combinations of like the subjects that you do. And now what would happen, because I actually remember like S4, I was in a private school, as in Kaboja.
Okay.
And I did really well, like I taught my class, and then I went to a government school. But like how it was because you've done, because you passed the sciences, even if you pass the arts, it's like you're given sciences. I remember I was doing like physics, economics, math.
Okay.
And yet like now in hindsight, I'm like, I should have been doing literature. I should have been doing, you know, like other subjects that were more
Okay, so
interesting.
it's kind of the same abroad, kind of, but
Yeah.
it's a bit longer. It seems like here that you're required to take those classes.
If that makes sense? I don't know.
You're required to take the sciences.
Yeah, like so they try to start phasing it where you start to be able to, you're able to pick more and streamline to whatever it is
Yes,
that you want
that's
to
what
do. But
happens at A level.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
so that's what I was saying, it's a bit later there, whereas for us it's a bit like by
Earlier.
S2, S3, yeah, you're
Okay.
able to streamline it.
But what I'm trying to like emphasize is that if you have, if you're bright, or like they consider you to be a bright student, you're encouraged, like you're really
do
pushed towards
sciences,
doing
yeah.
Doing
sciences.
specific, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that maybe you can do a better course, like because there's certain professions that just generally pay more. Like Mom was saying, teachers are not paid that well, so most parents are not encouraging their students to do. So now even when it comes to the arts, like let's say music and like all these other different things that someone could be talented at, they're not encouraged to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because of the society and like the practicality of like your
Perceptions,
earning potential or your
That's true.
perceived
It's
earning
definitely
potential.
a worldwide problem. It's just like a little bit more here.
Yeah. And I think it's more here because, again, like Mom said, a lot of people are really just struggling. Like the average person, like we don't have free healthcare, we don't have free education, so you have to be able. It's like every man for himself.
We have free oxygen.
Yeah.
Free oxygen.
And then the rest is up to you. Yeah.
Sad, but it's so true. Not even water.
No, what do we pay
Pay for water, yeah. So
Pay for water, pay for electricity,
Yeah, that makes sense. And
pay for your rubbish collection.
everything.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess we do abroad, but it's like more in your face here. It's more, that's true.
Yeah. So I think we need to support the arts more.
Yeah, a little bit more. And I feel like what I loved about high school, for example, abroad was even if you were in, say, all sciences and you loved music or whatever it is, there were so many more clubs you can be a part of, and the clubs would have the instruments. Not all schools were like that, by the way. Some city schools, you really didn't even have resources, access to that. But if you were in a neighborhood that did, say, like even a neighborhood we live in here, you would probably be exposed to a school that had more resources. You could have. They'd have. My sister just sent us a video. They did what is it, like coffee night and music, and the students were there after school. They do their posters, enjoy, have like a good time. Yeah, and it was really nice, and it was more of that. Yeah, sports, things. Yeah, we'll get there
Slowly.
But we have things like concerts. We have like the music. What is it called? The
Like music, dance,
festival.
and drama.
So students have opportunities to practice. So you have inter-house competitions, then you have inter-school competitions. Then you have sports as well. You have inter-house sports. You have so it's not completely.
It's not it's definitely not dead.
Yeah.
And actually, now that you say that, there are some schools that prioritize that more, because I remember like Namasagali, it was known as like a school where
it was a
music,
private school.
dance and drama,
which closed,
like almost it closed. Almost all the kids who would go there like
big school.
It
was private,
It was a private big school that closed.
I didn't know it had closed. But it was known for that. Like a lot of the kids would go there, like they would do music, dance, and drama. A lot of them would come out to be like singers or like playwrights or like
That's
so
sad.
I think it closed.
Oh, that's sad. So like more of that would be really dope. I want to get into now later on, after primary and secondary, we see like a lot of exporting of knowledge. Students being sent to international schools and studying abroad. Can you see this changing over time, or has it gotten better or worse? I do see a lot of people coming back, which is nice. You came back. You didn't stay.
Also, you mean like people going abroad for university and then staying there?
Then staying versus like coming back and
I think
developing.
I think most people would want to be home, but what makes people not come back is the jobs. You can come and look, and the pay. So if you finished your education abroad and you get a good job, you don't have the incentive to come back. So
we're exporting knowledge a lot. A lot of people are sending their children abroad
to study
versus studying here locally and staying. Do you see that it's happening more, or is it happening less?
It's happening more because the two problems, the crowding. Even the universities, they're crowded.
Oh, they're crowded. Oh, you didn't know that. Okay.
Even the universities are crowded. So Those who
Yeah.
can afford will send their children.
Okay.
Now, the good thing is we are having some private universities,
Okay.
more private universities coming up. So
Okay.
maybe that will reduce a bit.
Okay.
And we also have some international universities coming and having branches.
Branches here. Oh,
Yeah, so
nice.
so that will help.
Help, yeah, a lot, actually.
Because otherwise, you find that classes are so full, like some students are not even inside the room.
Oh, of the university?
Yes, in some classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like we had really large numbers too in uni.
Yeah.
Really absurd even. I was like,
Yeah.
why?
Uni
But I
generally
didn't
can
know.
have large numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was to the point where if you can't sit in the classroom though, that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not
I think
okay.
for a lot of people, yeah, the perception is just trying to get like better opportunities or
Yes.
like better jobs with better pay. But I do think that a lot more people now, for example, are especially millennials and Gen Z as well, like I said, shifting away from that mindset of I need to work hard and get a good job.
Right.
And they're more thinking about like I need to create jobs. I need to start
like
a business.
it's on me to be able to do what I want. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people now, maybe like you who even lived abroad or studied abroad, they come to Uganda not looking for jobs because that's
Yeah,
like a
no,
dead
no.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they come.
Some ask, I'm like,
some
yeah,
do.
I guess, yeah.
But most of the people who let's say if they did have an opportunity to work abroad and they chose to
Yeah,
come,
yes.
yeah, not like out of okay, there's nothing. Because
Yes.
sometimes like you also don't get the job abroad and there's nowhere else to go, so you
Yeah,
have to come
come
back
back,
home.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
But those who choose, in spite of maybe having an opportunity, it's because they've seen like this area, like Uganda is also very virgin. There's so many like businesses and things that you can start.
Yes, so much you
Yes.
can do.
I chose to come back as well. I
Come
was
with that
teaching in
mindset.
England.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
could have stayed there.
I retired and came back.
Yeah, and sometimes it's family ties
Yeah.
and things like that as well, right?
And I was encouraged because they were international schools, so I knew I would get
a job.
I would get a job which would pay me reasonably well. So that was an incentive for me to come. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I came, I joined Kabira International School, immediately. So I didn't have that gap of like job hunting. I applied before
Okay,
I
that's what I was
actually
gonna
came.
ask
Yeah,
next.
I applied
Okay,
before
so-
I came.
okay.
And as soon as I got here, I started work.
working.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think also like you see your situation is very niche, like because you were trained, like you were
yes.
trained in England, and there are not a lot of. There were not a lot of teachers here who have that training to teach, and that's why you'd find a lot of international schools were also importing teachers.
They do.
Now
Yes,
even,
they
I've met
do.
2 people who teach
Yeah.
in international school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
so
do.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
so
had-
I-
but
yeah, I
for
was,
many jobs.
for many jobs it's
not
hard.
that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Southern reality.
Although sometimes people do feel like they have a competitive advantage having maybe worked abroad,
yeah.
or like sometimes
Yes, that's
that
true.
works to
That's
people's
true.
advantage.
I just
but
want everyone to be like here. So like, if there's ways to come back, because
Yes.
I have so many friends, and it's so crazy, like who are international students who like they always many of them do say they're like I like my life in Canada, I like it, whatever. But I'm like, in 20 years, will you? I don't know. You might also be having a urge to come back. Are there certain topics that are catered to learning about Ugandan history specifically?
Yes.
And what can parents do to teach their children about Ugandan history, like pre-colonial? Because I've noticed we didn't learn anything abroad about like Africa. Actually, I don't think you'd have to go to university and specifically niche find
like African studies, exactly.
But we didn't learn
Yeah.
any. This is the one continent they did not touch on, except slavery. And that was it. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
No, like you've touched on something there because even here, like in our, I don't know, you said the curriculum has changed, but when I was in school, we were learning about the Canadian prairies and all kinds of random history that
learned
was
a lot about us and we
Yes.
knew nothing about it.
Exactly. So I think that really needs to change. We need to learn more about African
Ourselves,
history and
yeah.
African culture. I've heard like people also say the issue is that we didn't like when we were colonized, like our history was like erased, like things were not documented
Yes, we
and
weren't
all
like
of
the,
that.
we
So
weren't
it's
like
hard.
the Chinese. We didn't write things down.
Yes.
Maybe Egypt, because they have, but we didn't. It was
So that's
oral. A lot of it
challenge.
was oral.
Yeah, but I do think we need to learn more about
Yeah.
Africa.
Are there
about
places,
us.
resources, areas? I don't know.
Like, where can you go?
Where
to?
can
Yeah,
you go?
even in bookshops now, if you go, you'll find books on Ugandan history. You'll find,
I did a video on the museum. It was very, like, I didn't even realize there was so much. The museum and the library beside it that you can go to.
And there are more Africans writing, there are more Ugandans writing. We have a lot of literature now. So we need to like start now, so that, like, you know, the next generation says they have a lot of knowledge that has been stored, like, in the form of books.
100%. Because one thing I've noticed, just like having schooled in Canada forever, like, and now seeing how Uganda was, and with not being able to know our own history, people will tell you about yourself versus you just knowing. And with that, they can control you and a lot of things. I don't know personally. I'm going to go on the whole thing. But I feel like it's so important to know about
tell
yourself.
Our own stories.
Tell your own story and know about your own.
Yeah, but here we do. Even in history classes in primary, we start about Uganda as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but in secondary, no, like secondary history.
You're talking about secondary school.
Like,
okay,
I'm more
focused.
Primary, because that's your specialty.
Yeah, but to think that people do history, like, you know, even specialize in history at A level. Let's say your combination is history something.
Personally,
and all that history is
I dropped history in senior one.
So
I didn't like.
So you don't know, but like there's.
I didn't like.
You were like, no, and I
didn't like history.
Yeah.
It was like cramming the Greek gods, and I don't know what. And I'm not good at memorizing. So I thought, no, memorizing, no.
Have you visited like the source and done like a tour there, like the source of the Nile?
Not a tour, which I should do. I didn't even know you could do a tour.
They'll show you where Speak stood. There's like a monument or something.
I don't want to know where
where he stood when he discovered. Can you imagine?
It's like when they taught us Canadian history and they were telling it from when they got colonized, and I'm like, there are people here before. They did go in depth more though about the cultures and whatever before, but even still, it was always some
but stood.
Right. But now what I love about the world is we're going towards a movement of acknowledging the people that were there before.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is
universities in Canada had to change their name because they were like, that's a colonizer, and no. Like, you didn't discover it. The people who were there before.
Yeah, they were there before.
So, out of curiosity, if like in primary, if, like, for example, when I have my children, they're growing up and I want them to learn more about Ugandan history, where can they go then?
To learn.
Yeah, like, because I mean, I'm hoping the school system, like you said,
all schools, whether they are the local curriculum or international, they will have.
They'll have it. Okay.
They'll have a component. For primary, they'll have a component of Ugandan history, and there are lots of books in the bookshops.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find.
Them to read.
Yeah. Encourage them to read.
That's the part of it's on the parents.
Yeah, you can learn together with your child. Yeah.
Because it's so, like, I had to move to learn more about, like, my own tribe, like what we do. Like, it's just wild.
And I think actually on that whole topic of the role of the parents, a lot more people are getting into homeschooling. Like even with the pandemic, like you can, you know, design your curriculum and like you as a parent are better able to know what your children are inclined to, what, you know, like from an earlier age, like whether they're into the arts or whether they're into like the sciences.
And you'll know your kid best.
I have my sister who did that for my niece.
So you can
she homeschooled her.
The whole
so that's another alternative, homeschooling. You get an online
university there.
Okay. And also that would be beautiful to touch on what you do in your what you were showing me, the classroom behind, because for example, like, I'm just thinking I couldn't school my kids, I'm so busy, but then there's opportunities for smaller class sizes, so you could touch on your classroom. That'd be beautiful. You could tell them a little bit about it.
Okay, after I retired, I met a parent who was a friend of mine in the supermarket, and she asked me what I was doing. So I said, I'm just at home. Said, please, why don't you teach my twins? I laughed. I laughed. I said, what do you mean teach your twins? Teach them from where? And she said, I'll bring them to your home. You taught my son. I had taught her son earlier, and they had moved to the UK. And when they got there, she says her son was at par with the children in his class, except for the accent. Which, of course, everybody has their accent.
Hilarious.
So she wanted me to teach her twins.
Right.
So I thought she was joking. So, and then after 2 weeks, she called him and said, are you going to teach my twins? So eventually I realized she was actually serious.
Yeah.
So I said, why are you moving them from where they are? She says they're attending some school which calls themselves international, but the homework they're bringing home, I do not understand. I can't follow what they are learning. So please help me. So I converted my garage.
Yeah, okay, and it's spacious.
Yes, it was a big garage. So I converted it into a classroom. And now I'm homeschooling some children there. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And I had all the resources.
Yes.
I love it.
I try.
Busy Bees International.
Yeah, Busy Bees International Homeschool. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so if anyone is interested in enrolling their children, how do they go about doing that?
They have to come and
maybe you can put her email address.
Yeah,
perfect.
Number if you want in the description box.
Yes, the description box. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people actually are referred. I don't advertise.
Okay,
yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
You
so
have so many. How many students do you have now? I think
5. I have
yes.
5. Yeah.
5. That's amazing. And I loved it. You see their names everywhere. Like it's really what I'm used to. It's in a pod setting. Like
you go and take a picture
yes, we'll
of
do
it.
a whole video B-roll. You guys will see everything. So to conclude this video, what advice would you give people or someone bringing their children to Uganda if they can't afford international schools? What would be the best alternatives
if they can't afford?
Like I don't know, like the Rainbows and those.
Yes. Yeah. There's some schools for international curriculum which have small numbers. Pay a visit. What I would advise to the parent: visit the school. Don't just go and see the school when the children away from school,
or what we're used to checking online.
Yes,
online.
Ask if they allow you to come in class time, so that you actually see the children in school. You see the numbers, see how they interact with the teacher. When my youngest son, when I had to move him to primary school, he was so diplomatic. He said, "Mommy, I want you to come and visit
come and visit.
I want you to come and visit my school." So I thought, why does my son want me to visit his school? So I made an appointment and I went into the classroom, sat in from morning up to lunchtime. And unfortunately, after that visit, I had to pull my son out. There were so many children, they were crowded. They were doing a lot of recording to the point my son said, "My hand is hurting." He had to copy.
How old at this point?
He was 5.5, going on to 6. So they had to copy one sentence from the board, a cat and a dog, and they had to copy that one sentence to the bottom of the page. So he reached halfway and said, "My hand is hurting." So we came back home and I apologized and I said, "I'll never take you to a school again until I have visited."
First.
I have visited first. I see what a school day is like. So if you're coming here, coming back, do that for your child. Spend a day at the school with the child. Have a feel of the school. And
I think my mom is saying not just like going to visit like when the kids are away, like you just go and they take
classes.
But like if they can allow you, because I don't know actually how flexible
you make an
all the schools
appointment.
are,
If they don't allow you, then really that's a good. That's already a red flag. That's already a red flag.
You probably don't watch it.
You may not be there the whole day, but at least in session, see how the children sit in the classroom, how they interact with their teacher.
And also I think speak to their teachers and to their head teachers as
and
well.
Find out,
and get a sense of like what their values are, because I remember the drama when we were moving to different schools, and you remember like even just making a comment about like the toilets, and then like the head teacher was like, "Does your child come to use the toilet or something?"
I know.
Or like I thought they come to
flag.
study, like just this whole thing of like that's just how it is, and so we're not going to do anything about it. Of course
It's actually hilarious.
I use the toilet when I'm at school.
So they have to be clean.
Yes, of course.
They have to be comfortable.
So the attitude, I think.
And the school should have a conducive learning environment, and toilets are part of it. It should be conducive.
What's hilarious, this is reminding me of my mom, but reverse. So when we were going to high school, she was asking all these questions that they were like, just enroll your kid. Like, what's the problem?
Why are you asking
she was like,
us?
where do you guys rank? All these things. And I was dying, but now I think about it, I'm like, you want the best for your child.
Yes.
Valid question.
Yes,
Because
valid.
all schools are pretty much the same in Canada, generally speaking, if you're in a neighborhood. It's just so funny. She did the exact same thing, but even there. So those are, as a parent, it's something you should still be involved in.
Especially if you're going to pay.
That too. Very true. She was wasn't paying, but she's just like, where do you
I'm
rank?
saying here, especially when you're going to
like
pay.
a parent
Yeah.
is,
You should
There's so
see.
much drama. I remember when there was something about like, they said it's okay if I have my hair as long as it's natural. Then they wanted to cut off my hair, like.
And Faye refused. And if they're cutting off my hair, I'm not going to that school.
Yeah.
She refused. And then they said, oh, we can have the brother. I said, no, I can't have children in two different schools. If she can't be here, the brother goes with her.
How are you gonna go drive there?
I know.
Drive there. True. I actually have always wanted to know why that was a thing, but anyway,
The haircut
hair.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it's really sad, especially like now you find even nursery schools, like even
I don't
pre-primary.
understand why.
It's like dehumanize it. Like it's like, they're like trying to subdue. I think
that
it's
what
a
it
form
is?
of like subduing. So it's like they don't want anything that's going to make one child different
Different than
from the other.
Your personality.
Your
is
person,
different.
it's different.
Whether you
Yeah.
like it
Hair or
or
not.
not. But they kind of want you all. That's why you wear uniform. So you should all have the same.
Well,
so
yeah, I
no
wear
one should be
uniform
more chatty than the other. Like like even just like talking is frowned upon. Kids are like beaten for
talking.
For talking.
Is
So-
that's not no longer in the school systems, is it? I don't
Which
know.
one?
Beating, from.
I think it's still there.
Still
A lot
there.
of the national schools.
Yeah.
I thought
they
it
do-
wasn't.
They do
Yeah, corporal
beat.
punishment.
It's
Yeah.
still a thing.
It's still a thing,
yeah.
So I think it just comes from, and it goes back to just a lack of resources. You have one
Yes.
teacher in charge of so
Frustrated,
many
yeah.
kids,
If I
so they
had
do not
100
have
kids,
they don't have time
I'm sorry
for
if
your
I beat your child.
personality.
Yes.
Like all of you, cut your hair and
Cut
be
your hair,
quiet.
be quiet, sit there. There's 100 of you. There's one of me. We need
Yes.
to survive.
Yes.
We need to make it
It's
through this.
survival.
I get survival.
For the most fittest.
Yeah,
Oh, I
but which
get
is
it.
sad for the kids
It
because they don't get
is.
to really just be
yourself.
themselves,
And you see
and they're
it.
not encouraged to be
You're
themselves.
not, and then you see it in the works, like
Yes.
it reflects later,
Yes.
and
Just this fear that's
Yes.
instilled. Like you shouldn't ask questions. You should. It's all
Right.
about respect, respect, respect.
But then, as
But-
an employer, it's frustrating because
Yeah.
I'm like, if you need to say something, say it.
You've reminded me of something that one of my lecturers in the UK, when I was retraining to teach the younger ones, she was criticizing the sitting arrangement,
Oh, okay,
the roles and so
The
on, and how
roles,
their
yeah.
children have to sit. So I put up my hand and said, I come from a country which was a British colony, and we inherited
Y'all
the
told us
education
to do that.
system. Yeah.
From you.
From you. And I'll never forget what she told me. Very sternly, she said that education system was meant for clerks and soldiers, and it was to condition them to obey.
Obey orders.
Our children,
Yes, do not even
we are
go.
training them to question,
Yeah,
And
to
create.
think, to be
think.
creative.
problem solved. They're not doing.
So it was specifically designed.
It was
for
specifically
soldiers and
designed.
clerks, and that's what we
are
still
still-
using
yes.
today.
That's what
So
the
that's the
message-
I will never forget that. I
Yeah.
even remember her face as I speak this, and that was like 30 years ago.
Oh my
It was like a reality check. right?
Reality
Like,
check.
that wasn't for us, that was
No,
That was for you,
that
and
was
because
for
you
you.
were clerks and
And
soldiers.
clerks and soldiers to be
Even
obedient.
the diet, and was it you, Mom, who was telling me this? But even the diet, like posho and beans, because that's what is eaten in most schools.
I thought it was for affordability.
Yeah,
No, but
mostly,
also because like the posho, it's meant to give you energy, but it's also like dulls, like it's supposed
I
to
ate
dull
posho
your
beans
thinking and
every
whatnot.
day,
Like
I would also
someone
not
was
be
explaining
thinking.
this to me. I can't remember who it was, but it was meant like to just give you energy.
Energy, because you're manual workers.
So that was like the
That's
the everyday
so sad.
diet.
I remember my mom telling me there was a beautiful mango tree that grew in her school. She went to
Namgongo.
Namagunga.
Namagunga.
Yes.
Yeah,
High
she went
school,
to
yeah.
Namagunga, yeah. She was like, there's this beautiful mango tree in the compound.
Yeah.
And either it was her or my uncle's school. Anyway, but they were saying that if anyone was caught even eating from that, you were punished. And it was like
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to. You had to stick to what was offered and
imagine?
stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why? You're a
So
child.
no
with a
fruits,
juicy,
no
beautiful
vegetables,
fruit.
I
like
know.
no vegetables, like the actual like nutrition,
Yeah, so it
nutrition
was
that you
deliberate.
need to develop your
Yeah.
brain and your memory and your critical thinking.
Right?
That
You
is
don't
not
even
emphasized. That's not needed because
You
you're
just
supposed to be a soldier and a
there.
clerk. So
Oh,
all you
yes.
need is
Obey.
muscle.
All
you need
You
is
don't
muscle.
need a brain.
That is
Yeah.
so sad.
Do as you're told.
Yeah.
Yeah, do as you're
Children
told.
are
Yeah.
meant to be seen, not heard.
Yes.
That's so sad.
But
but
hopefully it's all changing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all changing.
Right?
I have
Fire.
faith. It's all changing.
is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's all changing. Yeah.
And it's wonderful that like yourself, you have a classroom that's offering a different way of
Yes,
music, which is-
an alternative.
So I literally walked in. I was like, "This is what so it's like I'm going back in time in my own like elementary school. It was so fun. I just remember good memories. So it's so
good
nice
memories.
to have that.
One of my new children, the father said to me, "What have you done to my son? He's only been here a week." Said he's the first one to wake up. Like he's so excited to come to school, and I exactly knew why. He struggles with recording. His writing is not very fast, but he has other opportunities to learn. We've been doing practical things, so he doesn't feel frustrated all the time. He only gets frustrated when we're doing the writing bit, but most of the time, we are learning. With the other opportunities for him to shine, and I realized even his confidence had been affected. If you give him to go and do work on his own, he will take long to so when I sit next to him and he finishes one sentence and I reassure him it's correct, then he's encouraged to do the next one. So he's now like he's scared of making mistakes, and maybe he was caned when he made mistakes.
Exactly.
Maybe
mistakes should be encouraged.
I encourage them. Mistakes, that's how we learn.
Make many mistakes.
I give them an example of riding a bicycle. Like, how many times did you fall before you learned how to ride? Did you stop trying because you failed? So
ride
it's the
without
same.
falling.
And
I think school is supposed to be fun.
It is supposed to be fun.
That is when you don't have bills, you don't have the cares of adulthood.
The whole world, all these things in a classroom setting, interacting.
Where you're allowed to make mistakes. And then they are so obsessed with erasing because they want perfect. I said I don't want a perfect book. This is a working document. I want to see the mistake you made, and then I see how you have how you have improved from. If you erase the mistake, how do I know the progress that you have made in that area? So don't rub. I want to see that too.
I want to see it, and it's so beautiful because that same child in a class setting could be considered a disruption, a menace, because he's all over the place. But it's just he's not engaged. He's not that he's a problem. He's just not engaged.
His learning style is not just looking. He's a hands-on.
That's so true. So last question to wrap up this video. I'm taking so much of your time, but I'm so interested in this. I'm like, this is so. I love it. But lastly, for people who are moving back, where can they get the resources to find the schools if they may not be here yet? Is there a database? Is there somewhere, or is it all really like?
I think most schools are now online. Most schools are online. And then you can find out what they're known for, what they're best. I think most schools now online.
That's good to know.
But I think what you're saying, we do need that, like a database. So like the school is online, but if I live in Canada, I won't know to search for Busy Bees or for whatever the name is. But if there's a database of like, okay, maybe per geographic area, like these are the schools that are registered that exist,
what they're known
and what they're known for. That would be interesting. I don't know if that's there.
Something out there for people to consider to do. Everyone's always asking what Uganda needs. There's so many things. So thank you so much to both of you. You guys are amazing. I feel like this is very informative. Please let them know about your channel as well, where they can find you. And
Sure. So my channel is Huchenda by Fay Kakai. I blog about travel. I documented a lot of my experience doing my university abroad and living abroad as a Ugandan African living abroad. So go head over. It's Huchenda by Fay Kakai, and I'm sure Rachel will put it in the description as well.
As well as Busy Bees too. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
As always, please do remember to subscribe, hit the bell notification button, and any questions you have, please put them down below, and I'm sure I'll forward them. We could have a conversation and whatnot. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you in my next video.
Thanks for having us, Rachel.
Thank you for having us.